Hello everyone, this is Bill with Yarn Crafts for Lefties. I received a request on how to do the magic loop cast on left-handed, so that is what we are going to learn today. To do a magic loop, generally you are going to be looking at, you're doing toe-down socks, you might be doing a top-down hat where you're using a magic loop as your start as well. For it, you are most likely going to be using the magic loop method, but for overall knitting, which will be a different video, or you could use double pointed needles as well. You don't have to use a extra long cabled set of needles if you don't want to. You can use DPNs. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by giving us a long tail, and we'll start with a slip knot. Before I put my slip knot on my needle, I am going to just take a twist tie to make it easier for you to see, and I'm going to slip it on one of these. This is my top needle. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my slip knot on, and I'm going to arrange this so the tail goes over my thumb, if I can find it, there we go. And I'm going to have the working yarn going over my index finger. Now, I'm not going to cast on a ton of stitches. One thing you will see is I tend to cast on in the same direction all the time. And by that I mean the way I wrap around each needle. With the magic loop cast on, there are some things that you need to make sure happen. Our top needle will always get the yarn from around our thumb. The bottom needle will always get it from around our index finger. That's going to make sure that the twists are happening appropriately, creating the magic that you want to have happen. So since my slip knot is on my top needle, I need to put a stitch on my bottom needle. Now I just kind of swing around. I come from under, through the middle, and loop over. I'm not making this a death grip, I'm just looping it. For the top, I come from between, over, and return to starting position. Under, between, over. Notice I am always giving the bottom the yarn from the index finger. The top needle is always getting it from the thumb. One more, 2, 4, 6, 8, we'll do a total of 10. And I'm always wrapping in the same direction. This is going to give us stitches that we won't have to think too much about, but I am going to teach you how to troubleshoot it, just in case. But I'll put the troubleshooting at the end of the video. What we're going to do now is take our tail, and I'm going to wrap it over the working yarn, because when we knit, we're going to lock it in. Now I'm going to turn my needles so that way they're facing to the left. You can see the tail is wrapped over. My knit is facing me, the purl bumps are facing away. At this point, if you're using double pointed needles, you're going to pick up a third double pointed needle to do the knitting part. But if you're doing magic loop knitting, what you're going to do is you're going to take the bottom needle, and as scary as this may seem, slide it through. Because now we're using the extra long cord to make this usable and reserve these stitches at the same time. Now the reason we are putting the tail over the working yarn is when we do this knit stitch, we're going to lock the tail in so we don't have to worry about it. Now I'm going to look at this first, and I'm going to see, give me 1 second to bring this into focus. There we go. That my front leg here is crossing over the back leg. That means my leading leg of the stitch is in front. Whenever it's like that, we're going to knit the stitch the way we normally would. Nothing crazy, nothing strange. My cables are getting a little wonky because I had to make my own up because I don't have everything I had for long needles was on sock size, and those would be kind of difficult to see. So now I'm going to go ahead and knit this stitch the way I normally would through the front loop. That's there. Now I'm going to look at this one. It is, because the way I wrapped, all of these on this needle should be going with leading leg in front. This one's leading leg in front. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit this stitch. And you will see how once you knit it off, the legs fall parallel to each other, which is what we want. I look at this one. Leading leg is also in front. So we knit through the front loop. If we had one that leading leg was in back, we'd knit through the back loop, but I don't think we're going to find any like that. Here leading leg is in front. Here leading leg is in front. So go ahead and knit it. And now we've come up to the end of the row. So we are going to now slide our cable. And you can do this with, normally when I do socks, if I use magic loop, I use the 32-inch. I find that's plenty big enough. Now I can get rid of that because I don't need to pay attention anymore to which one is top loop, which one is bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead, turn my needles to the left. We can see our knit row is forming now. So now I'm going to turn this. Because we did a slip knot on the first stitch, our leading leg is in front. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit this one as normal. Because we use a slip stitch, there's going to be a little gap here, but that'll close up as soon as we do the next. And because of the way I showed you to wrap, everything is going to be leading leg in front. So if you wrap the way I showed you, you won't have to think about troubleshooting. It's just going to happen. So now I'm going to go ahead, knit through the front as normal, but I'm still going to check just to make sure I didn't get it off track. Leading leg was in front. Leading leg is in front. Leading leg is in front. So now at this point, we have made sure our first row of knitting is done, and we end up with all of our knit stitches on both needles oriented the right way, so all we have to do is pick up and knit. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Because we are sliding the needles back and forth, sometimes what happens is these last couple of stitches get tight. Just gently work your needle through until they go on. Don't worry about it. The knitting will slide and move and do what we want it to do. Now, when you're ready to move on to your next row, just turn and repeat the same process and follow your instructions. The next video that I do is going to be on how to knit using magic loop, which if you've seen the cast on and you've just done the first row of the cast on, everything else is exactly the same. You draw through, and now at this point everything is situated the right way, and you just go ahead and knit everything one after the other. So slip knots on, my tail is going over my thumb, my working yarn is over my index finger, taking my bottom needle, lining them up. So now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make sure that I do the opposite of what I normally do. So you can see what leading legs in the back look like. So I'm just going to kind of mix these up a little bit. And I'm going to, if you notice, I'm not paying any attention to how I'm wrapping. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So now I just wrapped them helter-skelter. I just made sure that my bottom needle got the yarn from the working yarn, and my top needle got it all from the tail. Once they're all on, same thing. I'm going to cross my tail over my working yarn, turn my needles. Same thing again still. I'm sliding this one forward so I can work with it. Because of the nature of what I just did, this is going to have the leading leg of the stitch sitting in front on the very first one. I know that already. So I'm going to go ahead and just knit that stitch. But on the rest of these, because I did not wrap all the same way, I'm going to need to check every single one of them to see exactly what I need to do. This one here, we can see it crossing right here. This leg is crossing in front of that one. That's a leading leg in front. We're going to go ahead and knit it. Look at the next one. It's crossing over. Going to go ahead and knit it. I can tell already. Now if we look at this one, we see there's a big arch here. There's space. That is telling me my leading leg is in the back. With my leading leg being in the back, I'm going to knit this stitch through the back loop. If you don't know how to do that, we just take the tip of our needle, put it through the back leg, wrap around the way we normally do, draw through to the front, slide it off. The reason we knit that one through the back loop is we want to get this stitch oriented the same way as all the others. This way, on any subsequent rounds that we do, all the stitches are going the same way, and we can simply knit them through the front leg as we usually do. This one again, we can see it. I have space here. I'm going to go ahead and knit that one through the back loop. And this one here, same thing. So I'm going to knit this one through the back loop. Now that we finished that row, I'm going to, here's our loop. That's why it's called magic loop. I'm going to slide my cord. And now I have 2 needles. I'm going to make sure that my tail is out of my way because I have on occasion knit half around with my tail. So don't do that. Now that I have my working yarn in my right hand, I can go ahead and turn this, take my bottom needle, slide it. I'm at my slip knot. Slip knot's automatically going to give you your leading leg in front, so I'm just going to go ahead and knit that one. But I got to check the others. We can see here we have, they're running parallel to each other. There's a bit of space. That's leading leg and back. So I knit through the back. Next one, we're going to look at it. Same thing again. We have that space right here. That's what I'm looking for. When I see that, that's a leading leg and back, so I knit through the back. Here, we can see we don't have that space. This leg is crossing over that leg. This is my leading leg in front. So I'm going to knit through the front. Here we have that space, so the legs are running parallel. We're going to knit through the back. Now, I'm so glad the last one ended this way. We have our leading leg in front, so you really got to see a lot of leading leg in front, leading leg in back. This is leading leg in front, so I'm going to knit through the front. Now that that's done, all of my stitches are oriented the same way, and from here on out all I need to do is simply knit in the round. Follow my pattern instructions and we're able to knit the way we need to get the product we need to. Everything now is set so we can knit through the front loop on both sides and we're good to go.